I'm sure that some of you Nintendo fans or gamers in general have had this cutscene brought up to at least once or twice in the last decade or so. Music to my ears. When you typically think of Super Mario games, what do you picture? The Mario Maker games? The OG Super Mario Bros. On the NES? Or maybe even the Mario Party games? Whatever the case, we all know who Mario is, and him and the characters and games have established themselves in gaming culture as icons. Now, speaking of Mario games, there is one in particular that is, you know what? Why am I even explaining this? It's in the title of the video. Hotel Mario is a puzzle 2D platformer hybrid that revolves around Mario and Luigi storming around hotels like drug busters in South America, going in and closing as many doors as possible in order to rescue Princess Peach. You know, the usual Super Mario formula. But what this game is most known for is the compilation of cutscenes the game has to offer. I'm sure some of you viewers have seen one of 3 of these cutscenes somewhere, if not all of them.
I hope she made lots of spaghetti! All toasters toast toast. Where's the princess?
Now, the sad reality here is that, aside from the cutscenes being so enjoyable, believe me, we'll dissect the complexity of those later in the video, the game has generally been negatively received by the general public, and has been cited as one of the worst Super Mario games of all time. Wrong! I'm here to prove those naysayers wrong. So this game has a handful of important distinctions to it. The first one being that this game was the first Super Mario game to ever feature legit voice acting. That should already be enough evidence for you viewers to realize that this game is heaven on earth. Now call in the gospel choir and get John Belushi to do a couple flips too. Secondly, the voice work here was done by one guy. We all know how hard it is to voice multiple roles in a feature, but having all of them, except for Peach, done by one guy with such vast diversity, that man deserves a Nobel Peace Prize, a role in the next Pixar movie, and a 50-cent pack of peanuts. And thirdly, this is the rare occasion where a Nintendo game was released on a non-Nintendo console. You see, Nintendo had so much faith in Philips' team at the time that they basically gave the rights to Philips to not only make one Mario game, but 3. However, 2 of the games were scrapped for sake of putting full effort and budget into the monolith that would be known as Hotel Mario. In fact, upon the release of April 5th, 1994, Philips and Nintendo were so proud of their creation that they were seriously concerned that the game would cause World War III. So now we come to the undeniable magnum opus element of the game, the crowning achievement of the team, that being the cutscenes.
You bring a light? No.
There's a reason there's such a big cult following around these cutscenes and why they are so memorable to many of us. It's because these cutscenes have shaped childhoods and have changed and challenged the ethics and perspectives of many players and college professors who journeyed alongside our main characters. To start with the obvious, the voice acting is a spectacle of dramatica, showing so much raw emotion and dedication to the role just by expression of the voice.
Hey you! Get up, my clown! Be careful! When you pinch Wendy's pennies, they pinch back!
The game's cutscenes voice work would even be the inspiration of many Mario games to come, such as Mario Teaches Typing, Super Mario 64, and even Super Mario Odyssey. Now onto the animation, which is also a feast for the eyes. In order to dissect the animation here, we need to get into the perspectives of the artist. In order to create the image of Mario, what do we need? Well, try to picture an Italian plumber with a bright red suit and a button-up overalls and a big red M on his head. You see, these are all key features in making a new vision for a Super Mario character adaptation. The genius behind the animation team here goes for thousands of words worth of dissection and intellectual thinking. The emotional connection we're thrown into between Mario and his brother Luigi, and the chemistry that's explored within their psyche is a prime example of good storytelling too. For example, towards the beginning, Luigi is seemingly asking the audience for help.
And you gotta help us!
Now you might just think this is a feeble fourth wall break, but Luigi is actually addressing his brother for help, as if they were split in emotion and trust since their childhood.
We gotta find the princess!
Luigi knows that when Mario said "we," he was referring to the audience, and Mario's refusal to cooperate is amplified as Mario intelligently passes off the plea Luigi begs of his only brother.
If you need instructions on how to get through the hotels, check out the enclosed instruction book.
And directs it towards the audience as if he was intentionally ignoring Luigi based on past tension between the two. The writing and connection between these two characters is something far beyond Shakespearean writing. Even greater is when they learn to work together over the story's long, grueling tale. By the end of the story, they're speaking words of wisdom. When Mario uttered those words after a long journey,
"This is it, Luigi!"
You feel for them, in similar way you felt for Frodo and Samwise's journey come to an end after a long grueling hike. However, the only difference was that they were just delivering a piece of jewelry to a pawn shop, and Mario and Luigi were saving an entire kingdom at stake. Even the villains introduced and portrayed in the game's story were not some bland, one-dimensional cardboard cutout pushovers. Bowser and his Koopa Kids were a perfect analogy for the rich manipulating the poor to do dirty, horrid work for them, possibly, in the representation that Bowser is the big monopoly boss, and his own kids are the poor souls who suffer from a decent pay every day, but are forced to work at the hotels under the abusive and manipulative fist of Bowser and his monopoly. Now draw away from this royal class story.
Where'd she go?
And look at something as beautiful as the frame rate. You may think this is moving rather slowly for the time being and awkwardly, and maybe you could be correct. However, I'm pretty high right now, so I'd say it's moving at 600 frames a second, which is far utter masterpiece. I got a bit off track and emotional talking about those last cutscenes, so it's time to talk about other masterful elements the game brings to the table. So what's the most important piece to the game? Well, how do I put it? The cutscenes. No, that's not it. It's the gameplay. So this stands out apart from any other Mario game out there, and that's what I like about the game. It deletes any generic expectations that your traditional gamer has when playing the game. Instead of doing something overdone like running to an end goal, the objective is to close all the doors in the hotels. No flagpole to reach, no pull-up bar to jump into, and no creepy bird mouth thingy to run into. Just closing door after door after door to keep the hotels tidy and to stomp on all the enemies along the way. Have you ever wanted a Super Mario version of the raid? Well, here you go. As some would expect from such a game, the controls are ahead of its time. They're very smooth and flexible with no delay and not too slippery to the point of dying over and over again. Unlike most games at the time where they would cater to slower reflexes, this game's control required you to use super fast reflexes to succeed. Thus why lousy competing critics were paid to tell us that the game's controls were bad, in order to push sales for other games and consoles other than the Philips CDI, and to completely pull the rug under from Hotel Mario because they knew that this game would be hailed as a piece of historical art, if not censored from the public. Now you'd think closing doors over and over again would get monotonous and boring after like 20 minutes. Well, that's the key here. The levels are so fun and well designed that the player is left wondering what happens next, as the game actually challenges the gamer's mental state and smartness. Each level has a memorable and unique flair and feature to it that allows it to express and further the plot, contemplating the cutscenes perfectly in balance as all things should be. What newer games like God of War 2018 and Red Dead 2 get wrong is that they aren't nearly as repetitive as Hotel Mario, and they aren't nearly as challenging and limit pushing as Hotel Mario. That, and they don't involve memorable cutscenes or constant door closing. Well, what else is there to say about this game that Fallout 76 didn't do? To be fair, most of the masterclass material that comes from this game comes from the cutscenes. However, this game as a whole holds a special place in gaming history, as the game everyone shuns but overlooks its importance in gaming culture. Bringing grand-scale gameplay and animation unlike games we see today such as Nier Automata or Breath of the Wild, and teaching important life lessons and values such as teamwork, heroism, saving electricity, and closing your doors before doing anything suspicious in your room. Without this masterpiece, the PlayStation 2 would have never sold 150 million units. The arcade classic Donkey Kong would have never been made. This game is so important, its name is even brought up in the Bible. Thank you Nintendo and Philips for this gift to us struggling gamers and to humanity as a whole. In all seriousness though, this entire video was a pure joke. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I hope to make more content for my channel soon. Thanks to you viewers, because...
You're the best player ever!